Are you financially prepared for life's curveballs? Like a sudden medical crisis to an unexpected storm or a life-altering diagnosis? Well, being caught off guard can derail everything you've worked for. So today we're going to talk about emergency planning, how educators like you can make sure you've got a safety net that protects your health, your home, and your loved ones. Teachers, you give so much every day. You're shaping lives and you're inspiring the future. But when it comes to your retirement, the path forward can feel uncertain. If you're an educator juggling demands, busy schedules, and financial stress, you are not alone. Many teachers worry about outliving their savings, or managing their pension, or ensuring long-term care without burdening their family. With pensions often alone falling short, many educators struggle to bridge the gap between what they need and what they have for a secure retirement. That's where Educator's Financial Foresight Weekly comes in. Each week, I'll guide you through clear, actionable steps to understand your pension and spot hidden gaps, build retirement income strategy tailored to your needs, protect your savings from inflation and unexpected costs, and plan for long-term care and estate needs without burdening your loved ones. Your career has been about making a difference. Tune in every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and LinkedIn. Let's build a retirement as rewarding as your career. Well, welcome to this week's edition of Educator's Financial Foresight Weekly, your step-by-step guide to financial peace of mind. I am your host, Debbie Major, former educator and current financial planner. And I thank you so much for joining us today on LinkedIn or YouTube or by replay even. Please be sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss an episode. Well, last week we talked about managing debt and how your credit health sets the foundation for strong financial planning. This episode is all about being proactive instead of reactive when emergencies come your way. Because the time to plan is before you need a plan. So, I have prepared a emergency preparedness checklist. If you'd like it for educators, you can download that link in the show notes. But stay tuned so you can see how best to be prepared. Let's be honest. Most educators are so busy caring for students, grading papers, attending meetings. You rarely have time to prepare for financial emergencies. But here's the truth. A medical emergency can happen at any age. Natural disasters, unfortunately, have been in the news recently, several, and they can happen at any time. Disabilities actually affect 1 in 4 Americans before retirement age. And then there's life insurance. It's often misunderstood or it's just neglected altogether. So the problem? Without a plan, emergencies can wipe out your savings. It can make you rack up debt. And also, not to mention, the immense stress for you and your loved ones. Well, here's the good news. With a little strategy, you can put guardrails in place now that protect your future. So in the past, I've talked about a bucket plan and having a now and a soon and a later bucket. Well, part of that now bucket is your emergency plan. It's the emergency money that you would need in that now bucket. Because when it happens, it's going to hit you now, right? We don't plan, it's not going to happen years down the road. For medical emergencies, think about having at least $1,000 to $3,000 liquid just set aside for unexpected out-of-pocket costs that would happen in a medical emergency. Know your health insurance. Know what the limits are. Know what the deductibles are. Know what your co-insurance and your co-payments are. Be familiar with what you may end up in a worst-case scenario in an emergency, end up paying out. As far as natural disasters, one, I say be aware of where you live. Whenever you buy a house, they will let you know what floodplain you're in. Be aware of that. Be aware of the different things that could happen to you. If there's strong storms and you've got big trees around, make sure they're healthy. Do what you can so that you know where the natural disasters may happen. Or let's talk about things like what happens if fire happens or something like that. You should have an emergency plan with your family for getting out of the house, going to a safe place, knowing where you're going to go and what you're going to do. So make sure you've got those emergency plans in place for you for any kind of natural disaster that may happen. What about disability insurance? Now, a lot of times in plans, educators are offered some sort of disability insurance. It could be short-term disability insurance. It could be long-term disability insurance. A lot of times it's one or the other. And sometimes you'll have an option to buy one or the other at a discounted price. And sometimes you have to shop on the open market. Most people will use might get some sort of long-term disability, and what the district will be planning on, or the employer will be planning on, is you would use your sick days up and your PTO days up for to fill in that short-term disability time if something were to happen. But as I mentioned, you're much more likely to find yourself in a disability situation than you are going to find yourself, using life insurance, actually. So 1 in 4 is a lot, and so it's a good thing to think about. Good thing to look at those insurances. If you cannot get them through work, talk to an insurance advisor that specializes in disability insurance and see what it would cost and see what it would cover. All right, what about life insurance? That's the saddest thing that could happen, right? First of all, term insurance is just like it sounds. It goes for a certain amount of time, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You can buy it less expensive for a whole lot more. So usually on a big amount for you, when you take how much you really need for the years that you want to make sure you cover of lost income, and getting your kids through college and whatever other dreams you have, paying off your house. Your term usually is a very nice fit there because it's affordable. And you can buy a lot for a relatively small amount of money. It's also not about you. It's about making sure your loved ones aren't left scrambling. So, and that they have time to grieve. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that's really even more important is, what life insurance does is it's a love letter to the people that you leave behind, because it actually gives them time to grieve, where they're not sitting there saying, oh my gosh, I got to get back to work, or oh, what am I going to do with this, or oh, I need to sell the house, oh, I need to do this. But no, I can actually take a deep breath, and I can actually have time to grieve my loved one because I've got money that's there for me and for my family. There are, of course, other types of life insurance depending on what you want to do, but since we're keeping this on emergency, I would certainly include life insurance as part of your emergency readiness, emergency bucket planning. All right, so let's take this solution and break it down into a teacher-friendly analogy. So if we think of your financial life like a classroom, right, managing a classroom, emergencies are like unannounced fire drills, or a student injury, or a surprise inspection. You don't panic because there's a plan. So in your financial life, you need that same preparedness. You want to set up that emergency savings account. It's separate from your checking account and that you use every day. You want to make a go binder with key insurance policies and contacts and plans, right? You want to review your disability and your life insurance coverage every 2 years. And that would include that, whatever you've offered through work and whatever you've gotten personally. You want to create a communication plan for your family in case something happens to you. You wouldn't show up to school unprepared, right? Let's not do that with your life plan either. And it's time now for Ricky's quote of the week. This week, Ricky says, the best time to prepare was yesterday, and the next best time is today. Let's not wait for a wake-up call. You have worked way too hard to leave your future to chance. All right, so it's time to recap today's key takeaways. First is, emergencies are inevitable, but financial devastation is not. You need 4 lines of defense: medical reserves, disaster prep, disability coverage, and life insurance. A plan brings peace, and preparation brings power. Don't forget to grab your emergency planning checklist for educators, because it's going to help you go through exactly what to do for each of the areas that we covered today. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments or DM me directly. I'll answer them. I'm happy to receive your DMs. And please share this with a fellow educator who might need a reminder to protect their future. It's the only way this channel grows and I'm able to reach more people and help more people is if you will share this show with others. Let's make preparation the norm, not the exception. So stay safe, stay prepared, and as always, stay inspired. We'll see you next week.